Hello and welcome to the DRS show. Today we're going to talk about Border Gavaskar Trophy between India and Australia. So we have seen the first test and Australia have lost the game and India have won. Today we have a guest all the way from Australia. His name is Lucas Hodge. Let's invite him over here. Hello Lucas, how are you?
Hello, Hack. I'm very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, I'm doing absolutely fine. And we have saw the test match and it's pretty sad ending for you. What do you think?
Yeah, it was very disappointing. Actually, coming into this series, I did have actually India winning the first game. The reason behind that is because Australia have not played a Test match since March. While India, they had that series against Bangladesh, they had that series against New Zealand. So I did have them winning the first Test, but the way they won was very surprising. It was a complete beatdown. Australia had really no answers. They got after the second session on day one. It was all India. They completely dominated this Test match after that second session on day one. They bowled extremely well. Bumrah was absolutely fantastic. Our top order was pathetically bad. Not just in the first innings, second innings. Selection is the huge problem. I think they got that terribly wrong. Um, just a complete beatdown by India, and a bit embarrassing if you want to look at it that way. It's a bit embarrassing by Australia to play like that. Very disappointed with their top order, but equally disappointing with their bowlers. Their bowlers, besides Mitchell Stark, their bowlers were way below par. And again, that's due to being underdone, not playing Sheffield Shield matches. They had the chance to, they didn't want to. And injury, we saw with Mitch Marsh injured, just can't bowl more than 3 overs a spell. Um, so it was a really disappointing and embarrassing loss to India, who came off an embarrassing Test series against New Zealand themselves. They lost 3-0. Um, but to lose that way by over 300 runs, um, that just shows you how bad Australia were and how good India were.
So yeah, definitely we like to fight back in the next matches because I do believe in these batters. I do believe in these bowlers. These are the same players who can give you the series win, who can give you 3-2 or 4-1 if they do well, if they dominate. We have seen the big partnership between Yashasvi Jaiswal and KL Rahul. That was the big partnership, over 200 runs there, and that really changed the game there.
Yeah, coming into this series, Guys are all made hundreds in India, made hundreds in West Indies, um, made that big double hundred against West Indies last year. But the key thing was the question was, can he do it in seaming conditions? Now, against Bangladesh, the Indian pitches are a little bit seam friendly, surprisingly or unsurprisingly. Um, and Jaiswal was nowhere near good. Same with the New Zealand series. Bit more seam friendly, wasn't that great. First innings, Mitchell Stark, Hazelwood were on top of their game. They're actually pretty good. Um, and you saw Jaiswal nicking off to the slips. So the question mark going into that second innings was, okay, you've been out nicking. You got to in Australia. If you're an opener in Australia, you have to leave the ball alone because the Kookaburra ball, the last 2 years in Australia has an extra lacquer on it, so an extra coat of paint to keep the ball swinging for longer. So the best defense is the leave. Um, and I thought Jaiswal tried to in the first innings just tried to play too many attacking shots and he got nicked. Second innings he was far more relaxed. He was actually brilliant. Um, he grinded the new ball, and when the ball became 20 plus overs old, where there's no swing, there's hardly any seam, he was absolutely fantastic along with KO Rahul. KO Rahul surprisingly, because Pujara's not in this series, so you need someone that can grind an inning, someone that can be there for 200 balls, 250, 200 balls, just like Pujara was last series. And KL was absolutely fantastic in that. He left alone length balls, which is the key to Australia in Australia, leaving the length balls alone. And when the old ball came, Jaiswal just completely destroyed Hazelwood, completely destroyed Pat Cummins. It's this is a stat for you. It's the first time in Australia Pat Cummins in both of his bowling innings was none for 50. So none for 50 before he took his first wicket. It's the first time that's happened for Pat Cummins in Australia. That never happens. And after that ball became old, Jaiswal he just didn't look getting out. There was a moment where he passed 50. He edged the ball to Khawaja. Khawaja, I don't know what he was doing in the slips. Khawaja is not the best fielder for Australia. Khawaja just didn't get forward. He dropped it. That was a huge turning point. After that moment, Jaiswal just never looked getting out. And in the space of one innings, the question mark is, can Jaiswal play on seaming pitches? That got extinguished quickly. The answer was yes, he can. He played unbelievably well, getting up to his 100, playing some ridiculous scoop shots. That six he made to get his 100 off that scoop shot was just absolutely ridiculous. We have to remember, yes, they had a bad test, but these are four world-class bowlers. This is probably the best attack in the world. Yeah, okay, maybe Shami's not playing, but in these conditions, the Australian front four is the best in the world. Nathan Lyon, Josh Hazlewood, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Starc, and Jaiswal just played them like they were nothing, like they were absolutely nothing. KL Rahul, moving on to him, he was unlucky. He probably should have made 100. So he played extremely well. He left the ball both innings, not just the second innings, both innings, left the ball alone very well. And it was surprising because I didn't know KL had that in him. He played a couple of India A games against Australia A before this series. Didn't look nowhere near it. He looked poor. Jarrell, their keeper batter, he was more impressive than KL. So that came out of nowhere. But that partnership, another statistic fact for you, was the highest opening partnership for India in Australia ever. So, and when you do that, you're just not going to lose in Australia. If you match Australia's batting, you will not lose in Australia. That's the key thing. And them two were brilliant. Them two. Unlucky for KL not to get 100, but Jaiswal, you can say he was lucky not to get 200. But it is tough to bat in Australia with the humidity and heat. So can't fault him on that. But that was just a ridiculous innings by Jaiswal. Just completely destroyed the Australian bowlers.
Oh, before this series, you know, people were having some negative ideas about KL Rahul. We don't like him. We don't want him. And you spoke about the opening partnership. When I just look back in Indian opening, I just imagine Sehwag batting all the way, and other partners keep on changing, like Akash Chopra coming in, and Bangar coming in, Wasim Jafar coming in. Players like that, Parthiv Patel sometimes. Every player just keep on changing. Then Gambhir comes in, then Murli Vijay. Then it it's the common thing to just go to Australia and first over you're done. You have a slip and you are caught in the slip. Very easy. Like Bretley, Magra, then came Johnson, Stark. So just bowl and they will give you wicket easily.
Yeah, I think because Australian bowlers, they bowl quite full compared to other nations, and yeah, it happens a lot. Mitchell Starc, incidentally, he's a good exponent of that. He gets wickets a lot in his first spell, a lot if you notice when he bowls. Um, so yeah, he's quite prolific in that. Because at a young age, all fast bowlers are in Australia anyway. I'm not sure about England or anywhere else, but they get to bowl quite full. So more chance of wickets happening. If you get carted through the covers, you have to accept it. So that's kind of the Australian way. Just prepare risk to take wickets and risk getting like cut it to the boundary for fours, just to get wickets. I think that's why Australia, they get a lot of wickets early because they just go over nice and full with that nice juicy kookaburra ball.
So let's talk about the person who is very well known, King Kohli, having some runs in ODIs and T20s, but having some bad time in the test matches. And this time, after that big partnership, he used this exhausted and tired Australian mindset and got his 100.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk coming into this series. Will this be Virat Kohli's last? Could he even retire? Midway through the series. His first innings, he didn't look good. He got out very early. Um, second, second innings, Kohli of old. Again, just like Geisel, just completely destroyed our bowlers. It was that embarrassing that we had Labuschagne bowling to him, we had Mitch Marsh bowling to him, and just he just played with freedom that he's not used to in the last 2 3 years. Last 2 3 years, he's really struggled to find form. Um, but this innings where he advances down the grounds, um, where he plays scoop shots, that's when he's at his best. What really surprised me with Kohli's innings, which many people don't notice, that was his sweeping. He's not a sweeper. He's not a general sweeper, especially in Test matches. He was sweeping brilliantly, even with the reverse sweep, because he plays spin so well. He doesn't need to rely on sweeping. And when every time Nathan Lyon would bowl to him, he would just sweep. Get boundaries, get singles. So that was really one thing that really surprised me with Virat Kohli. Um, and then, because India wanted to declare, I think there was a couple of messages saying out to Kohli, we're not going to declare on you. Get your 100. Take your time. We're not going to declare on you. And yeah, Labuschagne came on a bit embarrassing, bowled some bouncers. I thought Labuschagne, when he came on when Virat Kohli was in the 90s, there was an incident where I didn't really like, and Marnus bowling leg side. Now he bowled a couple of balls leg side. Virat Kohli played a miss, and the umpire said gave a warning to Marnus, which I didn't really agree on because Marnus. Let's have. Here's a fact. We don't know what goes through Labuschagne's head. He's an absolute madman. Um, but he was getting Virat Kohli to play and miss a lot. Now if he edges that to carry, that's out. So I don't know why the umpire was warning Labuschagne for leg side bowling. I think in Marnus's mind, he thought that was the only way of getting out Virat Kohli. And then Marnus did it anyway, and the umpire called wide. So I thought that was really really disappointing by the umpire. I thought he could have let that go because it was troubling. It was a delivery that was troubling Kohli because he was playing and missing. Um, if you're playing and missing to a delivery, I don't know why you'd call that bad bowling. Mind you, he probably was bad bowling, but yeah, strange. Funniest thing in Kohli's innings is when he made that 100. He didn't actually know he was on 100. He thought he was actually on 99. So it took him a couple of seconds to go through the progress because he didn't celebrate. And I was watching and I thought, why aren't you going nuts? And yeah, I just don't think he knew he was on 100 because he played that shot, and we're reviewing it if it went for 6 or 4. But yeah, he just didn't know. It was pretty funny, but scored his 30th 100. His 30th. Um, every time he comes to Australia, he scores 100 every time. Just shows you what a class act Kohli is. And those retirement talks are dead. He's got an England series after this. They play in England, a 5-test series. He's going to that. He's not being dropped now. Or retired now. So he can make whatever he wants for the rest of the series. He will continue to play and he will go to England.
My next question for you is that you have seen the newcomers from India. We have Nitish Reddy, the batter, and we have seen Harshid Rana. So, how do you see them?
Yeah, I thought Reddy was really good, to be honest. Um, when when you have a new team, it, it's hard. It's hard coming to a new environment because there's also a lot of pressure on you to take pressure off the main guys. So, like for example, you just can't leave it up to Bumrah. You just can't let Bumrah take 20, 30, 40 wickets. Your bowlers have to, your other bowlers have to, or your other batsmen have to either make runs or take wickets. I thought Reddy was fantastic. Um, he really was a support act for Jasprit Bumrah. Um, we saw the other all rounder as well. Came in, bowled a couple of few overs, and that's actually what you need as an all rounder. You're not there to bowl 15, 20 overs. You're not there to be a strike bowler. You're there to maybe bowl 8 overs, 9 overs in innings to take rate off the shoulders of the strike bowlers like Jasprit Bumrah, Siraj, and unlike Mitch Marsh, who can't even bowl 3 overs without grimacing in pain or some kind of problem, injury problem. The Indian support cast I thought was absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't change him. I would actually keep him for the second test. Um, their number three, Paddle, he struggled. I think he'll be dropped. But as far as their all rounder goes and their seamer, I wouldn't drop him. I'd keep him for the second test. Same with Washington. Washington has obviously played a little bit more. Was brilliant at the Gabba last year. Last series. He was also very good in that second innings. So it's very important when you bring in new players. We're not asking them, to make hundreds and take 5, 6, 7 wickets in an innings. We're not asking you to do that. We're asking you just to take some pressure off the main batsmen or the main bowlers. And I thought their young debuts, I thought they were tremendously well in doing that. They didn't do anything special, but like I said, they're not there to do that. Maybe when they play 10, 15, 20 matches onwards, and one day they'll become a strike bowler or part of the middle order, then yes, you can expect that. But for this point in time, they just got to play the team role. And those two played the team well, extremely good. You saw their all-rounder get Kohli to 100, batted really well. Kohli got to 100 with that support cast. So let's say he fails in the first ball, then there's a lot on the tail to get Kohli to that 100. I thought they were really, really important, just to put pressure off the main guys.
I know that Australia have lost the game. It's okay. We can bounce back. Do you see any positive signs in this game?
Well, not from the first innings, but second innings, I was really impressed with Travis Head. He and Alex Carrier are probably the two best batsmen in this current lineup. Now, there's debate whether Alex Carey is batting too low. He's batting at 7. He got caught with the tail in the second innings and a bit with the first innings. Mind you, Bumrah got brilliant ball by Bumrah getting him out in the first innings, but he got caught with the tail again. If one of your best batsmen is batting at 7 and getting caught with the tail, that does not help the team one bit. He needs to bat a little bit higher, probably 4 or 5. Steve Smith owns 4. Travis Head owns 5. So maybe you can put Marsh at 7 if Marsh is in the team or not, and then you can put Carey 5, Travis Head 6. 5 and 6, they're not that different, but 5 and 7 is, because when you're batting at 7, your chances are getting caught with the tail. The odds increase compared to batting at 5 or 6, because you still have either a specialised batsman, which Carey, even though he's a keeper, his batting is very good. So you have some kind of protection for you. But when you're at 7, you're into the bowlers. Stark, Cummins, they can bat, but they're not there for batting. Mind you, Stark was very good in that test with his bat, but they're there to bowl, not bat. So you can't have your best batsman batting at 7. So I would actually move up Alex Carey to 6, or sorry, to 5, Head at 6, and then Marsh at 7. Um, Another positive was Mitchell Stark. Yes, he was expensive. Dice Award, and Coley took him down. But his pace was impressive in this team. He was bowling 10, 11 spells, and he was still bowling 140 k's per hour. That is so hard to do in your 10th, 11th spell. I didn't understand why Cummins bowled him up to that point, at 10th, 11th spell. I thought that was a bit ridiculous. But that was one big positive with Mitchell Stark and his pace. Apart from that, the debut of Mick Sweeney. Look, he's not an opener. He bats at number 3 for South Australia. Statistically, when he comes in the 10th over mark for South Australia, he struggles to get past 40, he struggles to get past 50. He's not, the problem with McSweeney is he's not a new ball guy. He likes the old ball. He likes the ball when it's old, then he can play attacking shots. I think one day, whether it's this series or not, could be the third test. Steve Smith could make a pair in the next test. He could retire. I think McSweeney would make a good number 4-3. I think one day he'll make a very good number 3 or 4. But with the bowling, as I said, apart from Stark, there's not many positives. Lyon, I thought was okay. Didn't pick up the wickets. He was economical. Cummins was underdone, and what I mean by that is he had no preparation. Cricket Australia, they brought back the Sheffield Shield, which is a 4-ball red ball domestic competition. They brought that back. They encouraged Australian players to play in a couple of games before this series. Mitchell Stark did. Nathan Lyon did. Alex Carey made 300s leading up to the series in the domestic. What are the surprise? The players that played the Shield games, they were the players that looked good. Mitchell Stark, Shield game, looked good. Carey, Shield game, looked good. Took an excellent ball by Bumrah to get him out. So it's the preparation has to be questioned. But Head was very good, as I said, in that second innings. Marsh even made some runs in the second innings. But again, he looked terrible when he was bowling. He picked up 2 wickets in the first innings. India were a bit defensive because they weren't sure how to play him. Second innings, completely tore him apart. He was bowling 116 kilometres, for God's sake. 117 kilometres on these pitches. And KO and Kohli and Joshua just took him, just murdered him. So not many positives, but the one big positive, well, at least, was the second innings batting with the lower order with Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh, Alex Carey, and the big positive of the bowling, only positive really, was Mitchell Stark. Apart from that, no real positives, unfortunately.
Yes, thank you. And we have a 2-day warm-up game coming up.
Yeah.
We have a 2-day warm-up game coming up, and we'll see what we have here. And I think, would you like to change the team? Or are you happy with the team?
Well, it's two ways you can go about this. Right. The first one is radical, which means you make as many changes as possible. The second option is just to remain calm. All right. Let's wait. Let's wait until the end of the second test. Now, if they go down 2-0, it's over. They won't win 3 games in a row. The series is gone. So they can keep the same team until they lose the second test. Then I think they'll go radically. They'll make a lot of changes. For me, if you want to go down the radical route, you drop. First thing is you drop Marnus Labuschagne. He has been horribly out of form, terrible. You bring McSweeney down to 3, and you bring in Sam Constas, the young 19-year-old from New South Wales, who played last night in the day-night Sheffield Shield match. Didn't make a big score, made 39. You bring him in, but he has runs under his belt in the India A game. In that second match in the series, he made a lovely 70 not out chasing. So that's what's one change I'd make. So out goes Labuschagne. McSweeney comes in at 3, where he's much better at, and you bring Sam Constas up. The next change is Mitchell Marsh. If you've got an all rounder, right? Well, I'll just mention this with the Indian all rounders that you mentioned earlier. You know, they did a good job of putting pressure off Jasprit Bumrah, pressure off Siraj. Mitchell Marsh can't bowl more than 3 overs without without wincing in pain, like closing his eyes, getting hurt. Like, you can't have that as an all rounder. They've got an all rounder in Bo Webster from Tasmania. Again, incidentally, in those 2 matches against India A, he took 7 wickets and made over 140 runs in 2 games. Just yesterday, he took 3 wickets in the Sheffield Shield match, and he made a 60. He made a 60. So his form's there, and he bowled 10 overs yesterday. 10 overs as an all-rounder. So he's there available. So that's my second change. You drop Mitch Marsh, you bring in Bo Webster. Third change I would make, well, it's not really a change, it's a in-team change. I'd promote Alex Carey to 5, right? And then put Head down to 6, put Webster to 7, right? Webster's a number 6 or 7 anyway. He bats at 6 in the Sheffield Shield comp anyway, and he is the best domestically, the best number 6 in the Sheffield Shield by Webster by a mile. It's not even close. So that's the radical chat. That's the radical. The normal change, let's remain calm. I'm still putting Carey. I'm still promoting Carey. Regardless, I still want him high. I don't want one of your best batsmen, along with Travis Head, being caught with the tail. That doesn't help your team. So at the very worst, I'd promote Alex Carey to 5. With the bowlers, look, if this was a back-to-back Test match, so what I mean by that, if there was only a 3-day break, yeah, Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, they all bowled over 40 overs. You don't want to do that in the first Test in a series. You don't want to do that, especially it's a 5-test series. You do not want to bowl 40 overs in the first Test. However, they get a 9-day break, so they get a good week. So doesn't hurt them in the long run. If it was a back-to-back, different conversation. Cummins, for me, you're not going to drop Cummins because he's the captain, but he looks so under. He looked like he hadn't played in 5 months, which he didn't. He didn't play any Shield matches. Hazelwood, his pace was down in the second day. He didn't bowl at all in that third session. His pace was below 130. If Josh Hazelwood, Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark, if their pace is below 135, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. It means they're out of gas, or they're under bowled, or their fitness is a bit low. And hence a couple of minutes ago I said Mitchell Stark was fantastic. He bowled 140s like into his 11th spell. Hazelwood, after his third spell, he barely got a ball over 135 Ks, barely, and then he just faded. So he didn't get that extra oomph off the pitch. And Cummins, like I said, first time in Cummins' career, he's had none for 50 before taking a wicket in Australia. His pace was also a little bit down. So they will get better because they'll have that 9-day break, and they have got now a match under their belt. So I think they will get better. Nathan Lyon, I thought he was really good, just didn't pick up wickets. He was very economical, but he's fine. That spinner, regardless of how many overs they bowl spin for a reason. That's fine. So probably no changes to the bowling. Perfect world, depending on the pitch. Now in Adelaide, there's a Sheffield Shield match going right now between WA and SA. That's most likely heading for a draw. Most likely. Today's the last day. So I think if that's a draw, curators will say, we don't really want a draw. We want a result. Cricket Australia don't want draws. They've made that very clear this series. We want results. So if they're going to leave grass on the pitch, maybe you bring in a Scott Boland, maybe. But I think the bowlers will get better. But with the batsmen, I don't think they'll get better. I really don't think they'll get better, especially the top order.
So the first match was in Perth, and now the matches are moving to Adelaide, which is your home ground. and you have to tell us about the pitches and the conditions and the batting, bowling friendliness and everything.
Yeah. Well, if it'll be interesting because Australia post series, sorry, pre-series before this series, they said they want spicy pitches. We've seen a spicy pitch and they've been decimated by Boomer and Siraj. Um, Now, Adelaide Oval, this is a day-night test match, remember. So we've got the pink ball. The pink ball at night time swings a hell of a lot no matter what the pitch is. Mitchell Stark is easily, statistically, Mitchell Stark is the best pink ball bowler in the world, statistically. Um, it's taken a lot of wickets in Australia with the pink ball. Now, we've seen in the past, there was a game against South Africa where South Africa, they won the toss, they batted first. They actually declared in one day. They actually declared something like when they were down 170 for eight, something crazy, and they declared because they wanted to take advantage of the swinging ball under lights. Um, so, having said that, Australia have never lost a pink ball test in Australia. They're undefeated. Very potent, mainly because of Mitchell Stark. Um, Steve Smith is very good with the pink ball under lights. Marnus Labuschagne, made 100 under the lights as well, but they're out of form, horribly out of form. They're up against the best bot, arguably the best bowler. KG Rabada will probably say something about that. He was fantastic, as you know, in that Bangladesh series where he took 15 wickets in 2 games. Um, when you have a potent bowler like Bumrah, who just bullied the Australian batsman, and when you got a pink ball that swings everywhere, um, that can be that can the pitches doesn't matter because you can't control the swing if you're a batsman. So the pitch can be an absolute road, but because it swings a lot with the pink ball in Australia, the lights, doesn't matter what the pitch will be. Having said that, first session, second session is much easier to bat. Statistically, in Australia with the pink ball, it is so much easier to bat in the first 2 sessions, statistically. And then the third session, bit of a nightmare. Having said that, I think they'll still try to leave grass on it like we saw in the first pitch. It has to be a result now because they're down 1-0. I don't think they want to draw. I think they want wins. So they're going to make pitches they'll get results, which will mean more bouncy, more bowling friendly, more seam friendly. So I think we'll see a seam friendly pitch. There's a game, as I said earlier, going on in the Sheffield Shield at Adelaide Oval. That's looking like a draw. First innings was 300, second innings 200, and WA's second innings that they made 200. So a little bit more flatter for this pitch. Um, so I think they'll leave a little bit more grass on it. But literally, you win the toss and bat. That you don't bowl because you hope to bat out the first innings team under the lights. That's literally what happens. Historically happens at Adelaide Oval. You bat first, try to make as much runs as you can, and then if you do get bowled out in that under lights, the team that's batting second has to go through that. So definitely win the toss, bat first. I think there'll be a little bit more grass, but with the new ball on lights, it doesn't matter what the pitch will be because of the way the new ball swings. And like I said, you've got the best bowler statistically with the pink ball, Mitchell Stark, who takes wickets for fun. I think he averages something like 15 with the pink ball, something outrageous, probably even less than that. Um, so it really doesn't matter what the pitch will be, but I think there'll be a little bit more grass, um, and definitely a bat first pitch.
Thank you so much, and it was lovely talking to you, and all the info that you have give. I think all the viewers will enjoy and learn a lot and get some knowledge from you. And you are such a great analyst to have on my show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we have a warm-up game coming up, and your players will get some rest. So yeah, and let's talk more. I think before the second match begins. and we will catch up very soon. Thank you for giving us such great time.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me. We really do appreciate it.
Oh, okay, so this was Lucas Cricket, the guy from Australia, sharing us the views from the Australian point of view on the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And we will see you on the next one. And thank you so much.